Hi, Ere.
Hi, Shoshana. My name is Erendira Rendon, and I'm from Chicago, where I work for a community organization called the Resurrection Project.
Great. And I'm Shoshanah Conover. I'm a rabbi here in Chicago as well. And Ere, the last time we spoke, I let you know that as the Jewish people, we're in this really significant time. We're counting the time from Passover to a holiday called Shavuot, where we celebrate the receiving of Torah, and we also read from the book of Ruth. And this story of Ruth has so many meanings and values for our people and for others. And yet, her story of coming to a new country, taking that risk to go to a new land, start a new life for herself, reminded me a little bit of your own family story. And I would love for you to share a little bit about it.
Well, I was born in Oaxaca, in Mexico, and when I was 8 months, my dad decided to come to the U.S. Um, it was probably like for Ruth, it was not an easy decision. He had to leave behind my mom and my two brothers and me. Um, but we didn't have a home and we needed to build a home. So he came with the idea of working for 2 years and sending money to be able to make a home in Oaxaca, and make a little store and be able to go home and live happily ever after. But after realizing that it's not easy, right? You can't just come and get a job that pays you enormous amounts to be able to do that. He ended up staying, and after 4 years of not knowing my dad, I really wanted to meet my dad. So my mom made the decision to bring us to the U.S. For multiple reasons. The biggest reason, obviously, was so that I could meet my dad, and so that we could live together as a family again. But also because she loves her kids, and because she wants the best for her kids. And she saw that she could come here and she could give us an education and that hopefully we would thrive. Um, so when I was 4 years old, we came to the U.S. I grew up in a small town called Harvard, Illinois, my whole life undocumented, and always knowing that I was undocumented, but never really understanding what that meant until you get a little bit older. But have been here for 24 years with my family, and my entire life, basically. And this is home, and this is where my family is.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting too, because like as we read in the book of Ruth, she faced these challenges where it was really bitter for her and for her mother-in-law when they came to the land of Israel. She actually had to glean the fields in order to be able to have anything for them to live on. And when I look and read about her challenges coming to a new country, I wonder for you what it's like to what it was like not just to come to the new country, but what were some of the challenges that you faced along the way? How was it to be undocumented in the U.S.?
Um, so my family, I mean, probably the biggest struggle is, you can't just easily just get a job, right? And you have to have a job to feed your kids, and you have to have a job to, pay the rent, and that's always a day-to-day struggle in being able to maintain that. And so because you have to do that. When I was 5, a few months after arriving, my dad, his job was sponsoring him to be able to adjust his status. And one day that he went to an immigration court, he just didn't come back. He was detained and he was deported then and there on the spot. He came back after a few weeks because we had just gotten to the States. But that's a reality that we face, right? That at any moment we can be separated from our families, and you just never know if you're going to see them again. And you pray, right, that you do, and you hope to God that you do, but you just don't have that sense of security. And it's just constantly there, right? Every time you drive to work, every time you drive to church, or to the grocery store, you just don't know if you're going to get pulled over. You're scared of accidents. You're scared of everything out there, because you want to come home and you want to see your family at the end of the day. And to this day, I still call my parents every single night at 10:30 p.m. One, because I'm a good Mexican child, but two, because I want to make sure that they're home and that they're not driving anymore, and that they're not going to end up in jail that night because of them, because they're trying to get cheese from the grocery store.
Was there another time where you felt like, oh, this hits home. This feels like, oh, I thought I was just another American, a Mexican American, but another American, and yet faced any kind of realities where you felt like your undocumented status actually came into play?
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of growing up in America, I just always felt really American, and I always knew I was going to go to college. But then it's that moment that you start thinking about how am I going to, like, how am I going to apply for college, right? That it just like you just don't even understand. That that's a reality, that it's just so incredibly difficult to figure out how you're going to go to college, right? It should just be like, which college am I going to get into, right, like everybody else. But it's not. It's which college am I going to get into, which college is going to accept me, and how am I going to pay because I can't get any financial aid, and are they going to overlook my status, or are they going to take my status into account and reject me? And all of that just like, it just hits you senior year, right? And it's like, that's not what senior year is supposed to be about.
What
Um,
happened to you?
so I told my guidance counselor that I was undocumented my junior year. Thankfully, in Illinois in 2003, a bill for in-state tuition passed, which allowed me to go to college, to a public university, and pay the same amount as any other student from Illinois. However, we had to pay completely out of pocket, so I was able to get some scholarships to cover some of the costs, and then my parents worked two jobs each to be able to pay for me to go to school.
Wow. Wow. A question that I have is, what does it mean to you that rabbis stand with you?
Well, we don't want to stand alone, right? We don't want to be the only ones out there saying that these laws are unjust, that our current immigration laws are unjust, and so it means, not standing alone. And for everybody out there, you can take the pledge for Stand with Ruth. Get involved in stopping deportations. Because that is definitely the most painful part about being undocumented, is going through a deportation process, which can take years, but every single day all you think about is, I may have to leave and I may never see my kids again. And then reach out to your congressman, tell them that it's time to pass immigration reform, that we can't keep stalling, that 11 million people are waiting every single day for this to happen, and that families shouldn't be getting deported, and families shouldn't be getting separated.
Yeah, well, I'll say this to you, Ere, is that for me, it means so much to stand with you, because you make it real, what it means for all of us to stand with Ruth. So thank you.
Thank you.